Hello, everyone. This is Judge Jennifer Brunner, 10th District Court of Appeals Judge in Franklin County, Ohio. I'm a candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court, and you are here with us today with our next series of Achieving Justice. Today, I have with me Judge Cynthia Westcott Rice, who is a judge from the 11th District Court of Appeals in far northeast Ohio. Hello, Judge Rice. How are you?
Good, Jennifer. How are you doing? So nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Judge Rice and I know each other to call each other really Cindy and Jennifer because we've seen each other a lot over the years and been to conferences and have become great friends. It's a great pleasure for me to have you here today. So I hope that you'll tell people a little bit about yourself, your background, and what your election looks like this year.
Okay, well, I'm running for my 4th term on the Court of Appeals. I've been on the court for 18 years, so I'm looking forward to another term. I enjoy what I do. It's a great job. I love the academia of it in the Court of Appeals. And my background, before I became a judge on the Court of Appeals, I was an assistant United States attorney in Youngstown. And I ran the office there and handled general crimes, including drugs, guns. I had a cyber stalking case, which was the 2nd in the country. It was a really interesting case. So I did that for a few years. Before I did that, I was a special assistant with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the first assistant in the Trumbull County Prosecutor's Office. And I worked with the task force in Mahoning County as their in-house counsel and took the cases federally, the serious cases. I would prosecute them locally if they weren't high level, but if they were higher level, then I would prosecute them in federal court. So that was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed it. I got to see both the state and federal system at the same time. And when the office opened up with a position, they asked me to come join the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I did that for a few years. And when the Court of Appeals had a vacancy, Judge Nader was retiring, I decided that my experience in criminal law would be really helpful because half of our cases at the 11th District are in some way criminal. And it's really a benefit to have a background in that, to have understand some of the nuances in the criminal procedure rules and federal case law that many of our cases come out of, what the Supreme Court has told us over the years, and then looking at what the Supreme Court's doing with what they've handed down. So it's been a great experience. I love it. Based upon my experience in criminal law, I sit as a co-chair of the Criminal Law and Procedure Committee for the Ohio Judicial Conference, where we review new bills that come out from the legislature, anything to do with criminal law that affects the courts. And basically, we look at them, we make sure they appear to be constitutional, make some recommendations as far as the wording, make sure that it's what they're suggesting and proposing is legal. Because if there's going to be complications down the road, we're going to see it at the Court of Appeals, probably the first place. So it's really a great position. I get to see stuff before it's law. So I kind of know what's going to be coming down the pike when we're dealing with cases. So I like it a lot. I enjoy it. It
sounds like the Judicial Conference is really fortunate to have someone with your background and experience to help analyze this legislation and give feedback to the legislature.
The most recent thing we've been working on is we're working on our sentencing statute and our standard review at the Court of Appeals. And I'm sure you know it's kind of a little muddled. What is our standard of review? How much can the Court of Appeals do as far as reviewing the lower courts? And we have to balance between our overpopulation in our prisons and what is, protecting our communities and from people that do really bad things. So recently we worked on working out our new 295308 sentencing statute, and you'll be seeing that hopefully it'll pass through and it'll be adopted with our recommendations. So that was like one of our most recent projects.
Oh, that's so interesting. But you haven't always been involved. I mean, you've got a pretty broad life. You haven't always been involved in criminal law. I mean, I love the story about how you grew up, how you sort of put yourself through school and went from there. Can you fill people in so they see another side of Judge Rice?
Well, I grew up in a large family. We had lived on a small farm in Indiana. And when it came time for school, there just wasn't a whole lot of money to send the girl in the family to school.
Wait, you were the only girl?
I was the only girl. I had 4 brothers. And my two brothers were already in college, and there was just a question as to whether or not I was going to be able to go away to school. So I was lucky enough to find a job working in a factory, and I became a member of the IBEW and worked on a line making telephones for several summers. And then I worked 1 year for the UAW at the Ford Motor Company on the line making steering columns. And during the school year, I would wait tables and make my spending money and, feed myself in order to get through school. So I was lucky that at the time I lived in a Indianapolis area, so there was a lot of industry and summer jobs. So I was very fortunate to have that because I graduated with almost no student loans from Purdue. And I then I went to work as a pharmaceutical sales representative for the Upjohn Company, and they moved me to Ohio. So I came to Ohio and started Akron Law School, and that's where I met my husband, Judge Ron Rice. So we've been together for 33 years married, and so I've been in a Buckeye since probably 40 years ago. So,
boy, it makes me wonder if you ever slept. So much work, so much hard work, and then you have children as well.
We have 3 adult children. Our oldest lives in Cleveland. He's an architect. And our middle daughter works for the Summit County courts. She's a program manager for a offender recidivism reduction program. And what they do is they take high risk offenders and try to make a difference with them instead of sending them to prison. And it's I think revolutionary. I learn a lot from her. We are always talking about criminal justice reform and how we could do things better, how sometimes these people get caught up in the system and they aren't really bad. And her goal in her program is designed to identify those people who make stupid, dumb mistakes as young people and get into trouble. And if we send them to prison, we're going to make them hardened criminals. Whereas if we work with them, teach them the things they need to know, like how to hold a job, how to do an interview for a job, how to go to work, some of them, how to have an email account so that you can communicate with people. I learned so much from her, and she would call me to and from work every day to talk about what happened and the crazy things that happen in courts. So it's really fun. And then our youngest daughter is in Cincinnati. She's a med student and studies all the time, works really, really hard. She's my idol for how much effort it takes to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Seems like the apple didn't fall far from the tree there.
Well, they're all 3 great kids. I'm so proud of them. It's a great place for me because I know they're all on the right track. And, so many people deal with kids who are having problems and unemployment, getting out of college and you can't find a job. So it's really hard for young people today. And I'm just fortunate that my kids are in a pretty good place right now.
Most definitely. So a couple of things that I thought about. Explain to people what recidivism is.
Well, recidivism is when people reoffend time and time again. They go to prison, they come back out, they commit another crime, and then they just end up back in prison. We have people in our system that have been lifelong career criminals. I prosecuted when I was a federal prosecutor. We had a career criminal statute. I had a guy I prosecuted for bank robbery that had spent most of his entire adult life in prison. And he was out of prison like 6 weeks and committed 2 bank robberies. And it's just, if we don't get to these people young and help them and make a difference, they're going to be career criminals. So that's what we should be aimed at helping and stopping, is this recidivism that it's a cycle that they get caught up in.
Right. So your district is about 4 or 5 counties. Can you tell folks what counties are in your district? I know you're based in Warren.
Yes, we have 5 counties. We have Lake County, Ashtabula County, Geauga, Portage, and Trumbull County, which is where our court is. So we go to all 5 counties, not right now because with COVID, we're doing everything all our hearings by Zoom, which has been working out really well. But normally we are in the courthouses and hearing the cases in the county that they come from. I know on the 10th, you're one county. So.
Yes, we're one county. There are like
pleasure of going out and seeing different courthouses, and it's really, I enjoy.
Yeah, I think so. I've sat by assignment in the 4th District and on the Supreme Court like you have. And it is really valuable to get to see things from another vantage point in a different county.
Yeah.
So you sat by assignment on the Ohio Supreme Court a number of times, correct?
Yes, I have. And that was enjoyable. But what they do there is very much what we do at the Court of Appeals, I think, don't you?
Yes, yes. Just more people.
More people, bigger issues affecting
yes.
the whole state. So yeah, I've done that. And then I sit as a visiting judge in districts throughout the state. And Chief Justice O'Connor started that when I was pretty new in the court in order to, cut the budget, because we don't pay visiting judges at the Court of Appeals. We help each other. So like Thursday, I'm sitting for the 7th District by Zoom. I'll hear a couple cases there. And I sit in the 9th, which is in Akron, and the 2nd over in Dayton. Whenever they get a backlog or need help, we're happy to help, and they call on us and we volunteer to go. So it's
sure.
And I enjoy working with the other judges, getting to see different personalities and different approaches on the bench, because we kind of get to know each other in our own district. We kind of know their, leanings and their preferences on things. So it's nice to get a new perspective.
I agree. And I think most people don't realize that how the appellate judges around the state actually do help each other out when it's needed. So, well, what would you consider, since you've been an appellate judge, kind of one of the pivotal cases that you've decided or been on the panel for?
The cases that you could never forget. Is that?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I had a really bad murder case, and it was one of those situations where it appeared that somebody was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it was a drug deal gone bad. The primary actor ended up killing the drug dealer, and the guy in the back seat claimed he never knew what was going to happen, and that went through our courts twice. And it was just, the evidence was very slim against the co-defendant. So it was really a hard case, but there were so many problems with it that occurred that procedurally we sent it back for a retrial. And the second time we sent it back again for a retrial. And the third time they pled him to credit for time served. So he was punished for just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. He he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but it didn't appear that there was that much evidence that would indicate he was in any way complicit in planning to murder this guy. And he was facing life without parole when the case first came to us, and he ended up doing like 6 years. So, he never called the police, so he had some culpability. He did do bad things, but life without parole because he was a dumb kid at a dumb place in his life and did something he shouldn't have. There was some procedural problems, which was the real issue in the
Sure.
case.
And I find it's hard to explain to people, but sometimes we end up maybe on a search and seizure case saying, no, that motion to suppress that evidence should have been granted because there was something wrong with the procedure. And people think, oh, that's terrible. Somebody who did something really bad got out of it. They got away with it. But on the other hand, if the wrong procedures are used on someone who's innocent, we hardly ever know about it. And so
that's what bothers this case. When I know in my heart, I can't tell for sure that this guy isn't innocent. You lose sleep at night. I mean, as a judge, you think I've got a responsibility to make sure that there was justice here. So procedurally, though, what people don't understand is when we reverse a case, it gets retried. It doesn't mean
right.
we open the jail doors. It gets retried. So there's another crack at it. So I think the point is we make sure that the procedures are followed and that justice is done properly so that everyone, whoever has to come before the court, knows they get the same fair shake.
Sure. And the beauty of the appellate court is the person doesn't get just one judge, they get 3 judges, and judges who are able to take their time and put their heads together and really review it fairly. And you've seen 18 years of that.
Yes.
Yes, that's really phenomenal. And originally from Indiana, Trumbull County, but you also do love Lake Erie, I think.
I do love Lake Erie. We have a home on the lake that eventually I hope to retire there. Not right now. I'm not planning on retiring right now, nor do I want to. But someday that will be my home.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's great. Well, is there anything you want to say in closing for people to remember about you as they start to take a look at their ballots, which will be happening in less than 2 months? People will start getting their ballots.
I think the most important thing for judges, and especially for the Court of Appeals judges, because many people don't know who sits on the Court of Appeals. We're kind of obscure. We're quietly in the background, cleaning up things, making sure that justice is done. Look to your bar associations, the attorneys who know the judges, who appear in front of them, because I think that is the best barometer for the quality of the judge before you, the judge that you're deciding whether to vote for. And I'm proud to say that I'm highly recommended by the Lake County Bar Association, and I'm the preferred candidate by the Trumbull County Bar Association. So that means, the attorneys who appear in front of me think I'm doing a good job. And I think that's really important that people know. At this point in time, those are the only 2 bars that have done any evaluation of the judicial candidates for the 11th district. So I just want to tell people, make sure you remember to vote all the way down the ticket, vote for your judges, because having good judges ensures we have a safe community.
Well, thank you, Judge Rice. I, for one, have enjoyed reading your opinions over the years, and I wish you the best in this election. And thank you so much for spending time with us today. This has been Achieving Justice with Judge Jennifer Brunner, Judge Cynthia Westcott Rice from Warren County, who is in the 11th District Court of Appeals running for re-election. Thank you so much for your time today, and everyone take care.
Thank you, Jennifer. Nice talking with you.
You too, Judge.